In this video, I'm going to talk about the worksheet. In Excel, when we open a new document, we open a blank workbook. And as you have seen it in the previous video, when we have a workbook, the workbook windows has several components. Most part is filled by columns and rows. The intersection of the columns and rows make a cell. And in other words, when we have a new or existing document in Excel, it's called a workbook. So what is a workbook? Workbook is a collection of worksheets that store data inside of them or inside of the cells. When we create a new workbook, by default, it will has a name, and the name is book 1. And if we create a second workbook, it will be named as workbook 2. As you can see here, this one is showing book 1 at the top of the Excel windows. We can also change the name of the workbook by saving the workbook and giving it any name we want. Now, a workbook as contains multiple sheets. We can create new sheets also by clicking on the plus button here. And when we right click on a sheet, we can also rename it. For example, if I select here the rename, and let's say we give it the January, we want to save data of January inside this sheet, we give it name of January, and we give it this one and the name of the February, and we can do it by right clicking on it or double clicking on it. We can also create multiple more sheets here, as you can see here, and by default is giving a name, let's say sheet 1, 2, 3, 4 and so on, but we can change as we want. The name these sheets is also called worksheets or spreadsheets that you may have heard before. So now let's rename this sheet to March. If you want to, let's say, want to save the March data on this sheet. Now we change it to the March. If you want to move this sheet to the left or to the right, we can do it clicking the left mouse button and dragging it to the left or to the right. And it's remember to when you press the button, hold it for and drag it. Now, if you want to access a specific sheet, we click on the sheet and it will take us to that sheet, and then after that we can change the content of the sheet. If we want to create more sheets, we can do it, but it's important to keep the number of sheets to minimum as much as needed. Now we created a lot of sheets here, as you can see here. Some of the sheets are not shown here. We can use these buttons, the left row and right arrow keys, left or right keys, right arrow keys to move between the sheets. If you want to go to a specific sheet, we can right click here and select the specific sheet that we want. Let's say now I select on January or February, and when I double click on it, it takes me to the February sheet here, as you can see. Let's say write something in the February sheet, something, and if I want to make a copy of this sheet, I right click on it and select the sheet and select the workbook. Now I also take the create a copy tick mark here and click on OK. It will create me a new sheet. We can also create the sheet in different workbook also. If we want to delete a sheet, we right click on the sheet and we can delete it. Now let's change the name of this to February 2, and then if you want to delete it, we right click in one in this one and select the delete command from the menu. When we select the delete button, it will be deleted forever from this document. So we need to be careful about this one. Now, as you can see here, we have this sheet. If you want to go to the last sheet, we select these three dots here. And if we want to go to the first sheet in this workbook, we select these three dots here in the left. When we click it, it will take us to the first sheet in this workbook.